The greatest, most powerful weapon that there is in existence, even more powerful than any physical weapon, is harmlessness. Harmlessness, which is what Gurdjieff is referring to, the being known as Ashiata Shiemash. Ashiata Shiemash as an infinitesimal point of light descended from above, messenger from above, because there was a need for it here on earth. In connection with the what Gurdjieff writes all through Beelzebub's tales to his grandson, that the chief particularity of three brain beings here on the earth, due to abnormal circumstances and conditions of ordinary life here, is this situation of reciprocal destruction, this need, mechanical as it is, to destroy one another. So once in a while, a messenger, Jesus Christ is one of those messengers, messenger of the teaching of love. Ashiata Shiemash was a messenger before Jesus Christ. Ashiata Shiemash, his way was the way of harmlessness. Remember, God is all-loving, all-merciful, all-beneficent, all forgiving. And to be of such a level of being as a being such as Ashiata Shiemash, who was a being of such greatness and all harmlessness, all harmless, all harmless, his very presence, his very existence touched all other beings, and at the time of his existence, it affected the entire planet Earth, such that life actually became normal for a time. According to Gurdjieff, actual life on Earth became truly, truly normal. And there wasn't all of this fighting back and forth. The reason for this can be seen in terms of laws of world creation and maintenance. God created the sacred laws, the law of three, trimazakando, affirming, denying, and reconciling. The law of seven, the law of octaves, heptapara parshinuk, all right? The mi-fa interval, all of that. These sacred laws were set into motion, beginning at the level of the most holy Son Absolute, where God's world is such that there is no violence, all harmless, all merciful, all love, all forgiveness. So to be a being like Ashiata Shiemash, the closest thing to God that you can be on the earth, when you consider this, once the whole of creation was set in motion, beginning with those two sacred laws, law of three, law of octaves, those levels of creation, second order, third order, fourth order, and so on, could not be interfered with by God. Everything was created in terms of choice. That beings ascending, evolving, arising, choose to evolve, choose to not evolve, choose to evolve, or choose to degenerate, choose to follow involutionary lines and want to be Lord and Master like a tyrant over everybody. Or be someone like an Ashiata Shiemash. The greatest is he, as Christ said, is he who serves, is the greatest servant. The greatest is he who serves most of all. The greatest is he who is the greatest servant. So the idea is non-interference. Non-interference. God cannot interfere with his creation once it began, according to the sacred laws, Trimazacabnal law of three, affirming, denying, and reconciling, and the law of octaves. Non-interference. So it is clear from this that that's what harmlessness is. Harmlessness is precisely that. Non-interference. Ashiata Shiemash was such a being of such a level of harmlessness that he was close to God, next to God, God who is all-loving, all-merciful, all-forgiving, all-beneficent, loving God. Ashiata Shiemash, being the closest to God himself, was all harmless. This affected all of life on earth. And during his existence on the earth, going back to ancient Babylon, ancient Samaria, those days, Ashiata Shiemash, his very existence, very presence, was of such closeness to God, and yet, though he was an infinitesimal light descended from above, he was a messenger for a purpose, to be. And by his beingness, by the greatness of his presence, life was normal on the planet Earth. The chief feature of, the chief particularity of three-brained beings on the Earth, according to Gurdjieff, all written all through Beelzebub's tales to his grandson, is this need to fight one another, to go to war with another, to destroy the existence of one another. And this is abnormal. This is not normal. And mention was made of the arch-vainglorious Alexander the Great, who made things worse for the three-brained beings here on the planet Earth, because he went about destroying the holy labors of Ashiata Shiemash, utterly. Thus, he was called by Gurdjieff the vainglorious. Not such a good fellow as we are raised in public education to think that he is, Alexander the Great. The very important point here is that it is clear from this that the most powerful weapon in existence, more powerful than any physical weapon, more powerful than any nuclear bomb, atomic bomb, any abilities that we may develop, hand-to-hand combat, all of that physical weaponry. There is no weapon more powerful than that of true, real harmlessness based on level of being, based on change, on a way of life, of work, of self-change, change of mind, change of heart, self-change, change of being, without which any true knowledge that we may acquire in terms of consciousness, objective consciousness, knowledge is worthless. Any true knowledge is worthless if it does not go hand in hand with work on change of self, change of being. This is what Ashiata Shiemash represents to us. He represents objective conscience, since it was written by Gurdjieff. And Beelzebub tells to his grandson that Ashiata Shiemash saw during his time here on earth that something is going wrong here. As the humanity has lost its way, lost its faith, lost its hope, lost its love. These sacred being impulses, which are features of being, not of worldly life of itself, features of the inner life of being, the being impulses of faith, of love, of hope, that these impulses disappeared in people. Yet there still remained what is called objective conscience, and associated with this is organic shame. And it is by this that we remember ourselves and remember to follow our aim, which of course includes change of self, change of mind, change of heart, change of being. It is on that path that we follow what is conscious self-perfecting, which is especially important for those of us who have developed crystallization in the higher parts of ourselves, what are called higher bodies, and our hope, our faith, our love, guided by conscience, objective conscience, is to attain a scale of reason such that we know what to do. We know what to do to carry on with this work. We know what to do to continue to follow a line, call it aim. The impetus is that we are otherwise a house on fire. We are a house without a master, servants everywhere in charge, first one servant, then another, and each one acting like a tyrant over the others. External conditions change, and then another tyrant takes place of the one before it, and everyone in the house has to pay for every mistake made by every tyrant, one by one that is in charge at any given time. Always it is due to the mechanical influences of the external world around us. So there must be an aim. Aim is our God. Guided by what? Conscience, objective conscience. And this is what Ashiata Shiemash came as a messenger to remind us of and get us away from this chief particularity of ours, in the words of Gurdjieff, of going to war with one another. All of that is mechanical, all of that is useless, all of that is for no good purpose at all, to want to destroy each other. So the idea of harmlessness fits in with God in His most holy world of the Son Absolute. Non-interference. That's what harmlessness is. Non-interference. So we see in this, guided by this, a way for us to follow, to withdraw from overextending ourselves and getting involved in the world such that we are mechanically brushing up against each other and fighting each other for worldly gain, which things which have nothing to do with development of the inner self, the inner life. It is only being that is indestructible. It is only being that survives death and can ascend this insane life of itself, lunacy here on earth. All for nothing, dust to dust, and what good is it? And what does that tell us about pleasures of the body, right? That there's a rightness and a wrongness to that. It seems that most people live for pleasure as if there was nothing else to aim for and live for. Well, to hell with that. That doesn't get you anywhere. It just sends you back around again. What Ouspensky called recurrence. It's not even reincarnation, but coming around to the same old nothing, dust. Forget that. Being was what we are aiming for. Change of being is the idea here. Change of self, change of mind, change of heart is the idea here. Ashiata Shiemash is the very idea that such a being once existed is, call it inspiration, if you will. See it in terms of realizing that is true. If Gurdjieff said it was, and it probably was, there was such a being. Trust in it. Maybe this will rekindle in us faith, the lost being impulses of faith, love, and hope that we once had as normal three-brain beings before everything became abnormal. Guided by what we do still have, guided by objective conscience, to try to follow this path, aim for that, change of self, change of heart. That means moving more and more into a harmless state, withdraw from our fantasies of being some super warrior, with an ability to do amazing physical combat things like we see in the movies. We want to withdraw from all that because there is a greater warrior yet, and his weapon is harmlessness. There is no weapon greater once harmlessness is attained. Not in wishful thinking and fantasy kind of harmlessness, not harmlessness the way a socialist would see it, but it must be in terms of the real world, which is individual, the development of the individual, following a path of self-change, which is a path of change of being, which is a path of true self, real I, real individuality. It is being, only being, that can ascend and survive death, survive all of this insanity of physical world of itself, life on earth.